Welcome to the Heart-Led Business Show, where compassion meets commerce and leaders lead with love. Join your host, Tom Jacobs, as he delves into the insightful conversations with visionary business leaders who defy the status quo, putting humanity first and profit second. From heartfelt strategies to inspiring stories, this podcast is your compass in the world of conscious capitalism. So buckle up and let your heart guide your business journey.
Well, welcome back to the Heart-Led Business Show. Today, we're thrilled to have Brynne Tillman in the heart of the studio. As the savvy CEO of Social Sales Link and the co-author of The LinkedIn Edge and Prompt Writing Made Easy, Brynne is all about sparking trust-based conversations without sleazy sales pitches, just like me. And join us as we dive into her journey of leading with heart and how she's transforming the way professionals connect on LinkedIn and beyond. So let's get to the conversation. Brynne, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited as well. And we had recorded your show as well. And what I loved about just being on your show and you in general is that we're very well synced on the whole sales and not being sleazy and all that. So I'm really excited to dive into that and your story. But of course, the first thing I always like to ask is, what's your definition of a heart-led business?
So I love this. And I actually spent, believe it or not, like 15 or 20 minutes working on this because I think it is one of the most powerful questions, whether you're a guest on your show or you're just running a business, to have your definition of this, especially if you want to be heart-led. Like, you should know how to articulate it. And I realized I hadn't done that. So here's what I came up with. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to see how much did I actually embrace it. So people first. No business that's heart-led should have the first focus beyond commissions. Your KPIs should not have the first focus on how many dollars are we going to bring in this week, this month, this quarter, this year. It should be on how many people can we make an impact on? How many clients can we help? How many employees can we lift up? So heart-led business is not only external, it's internal too. In fact, it probably needs to start internally. When you can treat your people, empower your people, and enable your people to develop into the best people they can be, that is going to get paid forward with your clients, with your community, with your network. So we have a line, which is where it kind of started in our business. Although we have 21 tenets to social selling, my favorite is detach from what the prospect is worth to you and attach to what you are worth to the prospect. And when you do that, you will be heart-led, because it's about making the best choices, guiding your clients to make the best decisions that will lead to your sale. So you'll lead to your sale, not with your sale.
Yeah. I love the tenet and your definition as well. I want to really dive in and lean in a little bit on the definition as well, because I've seen this, myself included, believe it or not. And anytime that I've done that is, okay, I'm focused on, I want to make X amount this month on sales, and this is early in my career. What do I need to do? And I'll just do the math backwards too, and not thinking about who am I going after? What is the value that I'm providing to that person? And it never worked out great. But anytime that I looked at the value of what I provided to that prospect and then backed into, okay, how many people do I need to add value to? Then it started working a lot better.
It's a significant shift that they can feel.
Yeah.
When you show up on a Zoom, you immediately know if you're being pitched. You can feel it, especially when we start out with, we help businesses like you. We have helped clients just like you. And when it leads with that, all you're doing is pitching. Now, one of the tenets that we are rewording right now, but the general concept is, before you ever tell them that you can bring them value, like you have to earn the right to be able to share how you can help them.
Yeah.
And earn the right through being valuable, through bringing insights early on, for having an impact with no other goal except to bring them value. And then they're excited to learn how you can help them more.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, people can smell that a mile away when your intention is, what can I get out of this other person versus what is it that I can give to this person? And the energy is completely different on the sales calls. I have this one client I've been working with for several years, and every time she comes up with a new program, the program's going to be $5,000 and it's going to do this and this. I'm like, okay, but what's the value? And finally, after several times of iterations of doing that, now it's okay, the value that I'm going to provide to this, and the business has increased when the value to the prospect was being thought of before the value to the salesperson.
This reminds me of, I grew up in the traditional sales world, pre-internet, pre-email, pre-cell phones, pre-fax machines, right? Like and I'm older than I look. No, the carrier pigeons. But in the 90s, like I graduated college in 1990, right? And I started in sales. That was my first career, really, in an inbound call center. But my point is, back in the day, the only way someone could get information was to call you and have a conversation or ask you to mail them something. There was no other way to research. Today, we are required to do so much more. So in fact, I don't know what statistic is really more. 67% of the sales process is done before you ever even talk to the seller, right? Whatever that looks like. But here's what has to change along with the times. BANT. BANT is broken. Budget, authority, needs, and timing. So back in the day, one of the very first questions you would ask is, so before we get started, do you have a budget set aside for this? They didn't even know what it was. And by the way, Jacob, are you the only decision maker in this, or are there other people we should be bringing into this call before they even know what we do? So we need to switch the conversation, whether it's in person or online. The prospecting mindset the discovery mindset that I need to qualify you in or out too early is broken. A lot of my colleagues will say a quick no is the second best thing to a quick yes, and I disagree. Because a quick no could be an uninformed no.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we can miss a lot of opportunities to help someone, even if it means yes in a year. So BANT is gone. We're replacing it with CHIRP.
Love it.
What's going on in your world? What history? So C is challenge. H is history. When you look back at all the ways you've tried to fix this, what have you tried and why don't you think it didn't work? And by the way, if it's still a challenge, it didn't work. So whatever they did. Most of the time, it's like we didn't do very much. We're just living with it. But sometimes it's, we tried this, it didn't work. We tried this, it didn't work. And then how is that impacting your business today? So you could have what you think is a big challenge that has very little impact. I need to know that. And you need to know that. Is this something you should be spending time on? Because you may think it's a huge challenge. Maybe it's, this is a client. You have someone that's going out on maternity leave and you don't know how to fill that for 6 months. And you think that's a huge challenge. But what is the impact in 6 months? Yeah, you can get through 6 months. Okay, so maybe you don't need someone at that top level to replace for 6 months. So getting that squared away is important. The challenge and the impact should align, as well as risk. So impact is today, risk is tomorrow. If she doesn't come back in 6 months, what's the risk to the business? That's huge.
Yeah.
So it's not always the same thing. Impact today and risk in the future. And then P is priority. You may have 73 challenges on your plate. Where does this land? So if you notice, this is all about them. It's not about, do they have a budget that I can invoice to?
Exact opposite of the way it should be done. That's
so this is a heart-led business model in my mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that framework too, that lays out exactly a really good flow to the conversation that feels natural and is focused on the prospect itself. That's awesome. The other thing that you mentioned early on in your definition was, or in the tenant, one of the tenants is detaching from what they can give to you. Yeah. I always say detach yourself from the sale itself, because at the end of the day, like I used to tell people this too. I was like, hey, if you buy this or don't buy this product, it's not going to affect me a huge amount. But I know in the heart of hearts that it's going to make a huge difference for you. And so I would just detach myself from the outcome and verbalize that to the prospect to let them know that I have no intention of giving them something that they don't need or want, but I know that they need it. And that's why I'm pushing for them to get it.
Yeah. So I love that concept for sure. I think it's brilliant. I typically will start a call. I'm really looking forward to this conversation today. When you booked the call, what were you hoping to achieve? And I like this. And sometimes they're like, I don't know. Joe said I should talk to you, so I'm talking to you. Okay. Or sometimes they say, you know what? We've really got this challenge where our top of the pipeline is dry. So now I know what's important to them and what at least they're perceiving is their priority. And I think that's really important. The next thing I'll say is that's great. So my goal is that at the end of this call, that you walk away with some ideas to start to solve that challenge. If I can't, or I don't have ideas, I have a really strong network of experts in this area. Would it be okay if I introduced you to someone who I think could help you?
Love that.
Yeah. And I believe 2026 is the year of referrals, but we have to start with being the referrer. My goal is to help them solve the problem, even if I can't. So maybe they say to me, really what our problem is before we can handle any of this is our CRM is a total mess. Everything is off. There's no process. Everything we report on is wrong. So before we even get into solving the process, we got to solve our data. And I'm like, you know what? Start with Liz Hyman. I'll make that introduction. Once you get that, once you work with her, because she can fix this for you, let's talk again. I feel like sometimes I'm the GP, right? I'm diagnosing, and sometimes your GP can fix it, and sometimes you need an endocrinologist. I'm a GP and a LinkedIn specialist. So if that's your area, I'm ready to help you fill your pipeline with LinkedIn. But if it's anything else, I have a really strong network of people that I know bring a lot of value. So for me, a win is that I can help that prospect move forward, solving that challenge that I help them uncover, even if I'm not the one getting the business.
Yeah. And I think if they have a great experience with that other person that you've referred to, now that great experience is a reflection on you. And if they solve that particular challenge, now they're indebted in their mind a bit to you for making that introduction. And it would be natural for you to come back. And hopefully you have the type of relationship with the person that you referred them to that they will tell you how they're going along and potentially refer them back to you when it's time.
Well, and sometimes we actually have that conversation and I'll say, Liz, I believe you are the best sales process thinker in the world. I've never met anyone better. But I know you have a large network of other folks that do LinkedIn as well. But here's what I'm going to ask. Anyone I refer to you, that you only send them back to me. What you do with your other people, I hope you refer them to me, but you set the ground rules. Because that's important, right? Now, I have probably 8 or 10 people that I am referring all the time, but my business is coming from the referrals back, whether they're the same people that I sent their way or others. The key is the heart-led business mindset is that I'm going to do what's best for that prospect. I'm going to bring them to the best people I know that can help them solve that business. And I have a relationship with them that hopefully I've earned the place of the best person to refer when they need LinkedIn for the top of the funnel.
Yeah, that's great. So let's shift gears just a little bit and let's talk a little bit about your business and how you balance having a heart-led business and still making a profit. Because I know a lot of heart-led business owners, they struggle with the whole idea it's either or. And I know in my world, in your world, it's an and. Take me through the evolution of Brynne over time and how you've been able to kind of get to where you are today.
I started off kind of learning and training in the Sandler-ish world. So the evolution is 180, right? So, and rather than kind of walking through what that looks like, just know I had a year of cold calling. I had a year of inbound and I had a year of every single day. I had to make 80-ish, I think 60 to 80 outbounds every single day. When I was in the inbound, I was getting 100 to 120 inbounds every day, like crazy. I paid my dues in sales. I'm not showing up saying, I understand sales, but I never really did it myself. I did it all. I pounded pavement. When I sold for Kinko's, which some people may not even know what Kinko's is. It's now Detach store. But I literally would knock on the doors in the town saying, hey, you're printing needs. I did that. So the evolution came from, I'm sitting across, the aha moment was before LinkedIn, where I was sitting across from a client staring at his overflowing Rolodex. I wonder how many listeners don't know what a Rolodex is.
But the visual of the turning knob, I love it.
It was a huge Rolodex all swooped in with Post-it notes. And if I could get my hands on that, I'd be able to go through his connections, see who, I didn't say connections, right? Business cards. Right. I could go through his business cards, see who he knows and say, hey, Joe, here are some folks I'd love to meet. But what I was doing is saying, hey, Joe, who do you know that needs printing? I don't know who I know. And we still do that as salespeople. We go, hey, I'm so glad we've been able to help you solve this problem. Who do you know that has this problem too? And they go, I don't know. Even if they want to refer you, you haven't made it easy. Well, you might have earned it. So that's you could have earned it, but they still don't know who to introduce you to. I remember a training that I sat through where they're like, ask them who they play golf with. Who do they play mahjong with? I'm like, what? These are the triggers that are going to get them to think about the people I want to have conversations with. Yeah, we were taught that, right?
That's fine.
But now the moment, the shift, like the transition, how did I get here? Is when I saw LinkedIn for the first time. And by the way, I called it LinkedIn for weeks. When I saw LinkedIn for the first time, it solved this problem because I could identify who my client knew that I wanted to meet. And instead of saying, hey, Joe, or hey, Jacob, who do you know that could use my services the same way? I said, Jacob, you are connected to so many folks I'd love to have a conversation with. Do you mind if I run these names by you and get your thoughts?
Nice.
And now, and it may trigger other people not on that list, but maybe there's this list of 72 people. And at the end of our conversation, you've identified 4 or 5 you're willing to make an introduction to, or 1 or 2 that you're willing to make an introduction to. And then I say, thank you so much. Of these others, would it be okay if I mention that you're my happy client and that, that we had this conversation today? Sure. So now I have some introductions and 35 other names that I can name drop. So I reach out and I say, hey, Joe, Jacob and I were chatting the other day. Your name came up in conversation. He says, hello, I've been working with Jacob on X, Y, and Z. Let's connect and I can loop you in on why he thought we should chat. And so you're coming in with a high level of credibility, a high level of trust, but there's a but. Your only goal is to have Joe go back to Jacob and say, man, thanks for introducing me to Brynne. That was a great call. If it bring value. So now your question though was, how do I convert? So here, if you have a good enough conversation, you have to ask them questions in order to bring insights, right? Otherwise it's a blog post on Zoom, right? If it's just a generic, like pushing insights and they could have learned it from watching your YouTube live, that's not the value. We need to understand their situation in order to deliver value. So there is an obligation to do some discovery. The discovery just needs to be challenge, history, impact, risk, and priority. Did I do that right? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean risk. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. This is why I have acronyms. You have an obligation to make sure that half hour you're spending with them is time well spent for them. That they get off that call and go, man, that was a great use of my time. So when we set it up, I'm going to go back to, I'm just reiterating what we talked about before. When we schedule this call, other than that, Jacob said we should chat, was there anything you were hoping we'd cover? Because they may have done some due diligence. They may have looked at my profile, my website before the call. They may have a question or two. I still want to know. So other than Jacob saying we should chat, what would you like to cover? So I start with that. Sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes they wrote it in the calendar invite because there's a place. What would you like us to cover on the call? So I have to make sure I did that. And I did my pre-call planning. And then the next thing is I want you to walk away from this call with some value and insights. That's my goal. If there is something I can help you with, great. If there's someone I can introduce you to that can help you, great. But if nothing else, I want you to walk away from this 30 minutes saying, hey, that was the best time I spent this week. That's the expectation I'm setting. I have to meet that expectation. So for 29 minutes, maybe 27 minutes, I'm learning about them and in real time giving my thoughts and insights. And then at the end, and I have 3 stories I use almost all the time. You've got to be prepared. Just say, Joe, listening to this reminds me of a client that I worked with last year. Can I tell you that story? Yeah. Permission to shift. Yep. Yep. Don't just tell the story, ask permission. Because when he says, oh yeah, sure, I'd love to hear that, he'll listen. If you just go into storytelling, you have now bait and switched him.
Yep.
I tell the story and say, I don't know where you are in this journey, but if you'd like to explore a little bit more about how I helped that client and see if that would be helpful to you, we can set up another call. Oh, okay, sure. And now, because I've done my pre-call planning, I know there are 2 other people in the organization I'd love to include in that meeting. So I'll say, when I was doing a little research before our call today, I noticed Fran and Jane are doing this. Typically, that role gets involved in that conversation. Do you have access to their calendar? Can we include them?
Yeah, nice.
And now we've moved this forward and we've shifted it with permission. And our next call becomes really the first sales call.
Yeah. And I love that it's still the BANT, but it's completely different. You're still, well, you didn't do budget on that one, but the authority. So, the people, but it's so much more elegant than starting the conversation with budget, authority, and down the road.
Yeah, I'll clarify. You still need BANT, just not at the beginning.
Yeah.
You have to earn the right to talk about BANT. You can't go to BANT. May have done timing a little bit, but we did it in relation to their situation.
Yeah. And in helping them overcome whatever the challenge is too. Yeah. Love that. Brynne, this has just been the nuggets that you've dropped, and I hope the listeners are taking notes here as well. Maybe they need to listen to this again and again a couple of times, but the nuggets that you've dropped have been absolutely gold. So thank you so much for doing that. How can people learn more about you and your work, and especially the LinkedIn work that you're doing?
Thank you. I appreciate that. First, we have a free membership and we have a premium, but anyone can join for free. That gets you 1 coaching call a month, 2 to 3 trainings a month, all free, because my goal is to earn your business. But I'll tell you, we have over 12,000 free members. Wow. And there's no pressure. And then we have about 125 premium members.
Yes.
So we're serving a lot of people for free, but when the timing is right, they're like, oh, we'll pay $97 a month. You've earned that. Great. Yeah. Welcome aboard. We're thrilled to have you. So membership, it's socialsaleslink.com/membership. Join for free. There's no reason not to. You can always unsubscribe, right? You can always back out. But if you found value in this, you'll get so much value from there are hundreds of resources in our library, lots of on-demand training, lots of things. I also launched Brynne.ai, BRYNNE.ai, which is my AI coach through a partnership with a company called myfuel.io. And you can have 7 days. It's like Brynne ChatGPT. You can ask me. It's my bank of knowledge. Anything you want for 7 days for free. No credit card required for any of the free.
Even better. No, we'll link all that up into the show notes and make sure that everybody's going to that and make it easy. And actually, I think I'm going to have my assistant handles the LinkedIn, get into that group as well. So, Brynne, this has been, again, fascinating and a great conversation. I really want to thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom with the audience.
And thank you for coming on my show and sharing your wisdom with my audience.
Awesome. Sharing is caring, right? That's what my mom says. So.
Moms are always right because I'm one.
Yes, always. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to today's episode. We really do appreciate it. Make sure that you're checking out everything that Brynne's doing. And we're going to link all of that up into the show notes. And then while you're down there, there's probably going to be a place where you can share this episode. I encourage you to share the episode with a friend or family member or colleague that could use some of the advice that Brynne has shared with us today. It really helps share the show and gets more people interested in being heart-led rather than profit-led. So until next time, lead with your heart.
You've been listening to the Heart-Led Business Show, hosted by Tom Jacobs. Join us next time for another inspiring journey into the heart of business.